it was supposed to be a one-off. They obviously didn't plan to make 5 more records or whatever, since then.
Yeah, but they can still evolve. I mean, that doesn't mean they can't
I mean,
evolve.
these guys are pretty.
Oh my god. Wait, what? I just disconnected. Carlos, what'd you say? I just disconnected.
I said they're pretty big too. They have like almost 4 million monthly listeners on Spotify.
What is it?
All right, we back at it like a crack addict with a review of Run the Jewels 4, rap duo consisting of Killer Mike and LP, both I think considered legendary. What did Kendrick say? If you really cared about rap, Killer Mike will be platinum, something like that. Yeah, let's get straight to it. First thought.
Whoa.
I like that line, that intro line. Was pretty good.
My first thoughts listening to this album, feeling a little bit of listener's fatigue. I still, I stuck through it because, me, I don't.
You're so strong, Victor. I can't believe
I was not the biggest fan. It was a little bit of drudge getting through it. I thought that they're kind of recycling their, going back at it like a crack addict, except not the good kind of crack addict. They were like. Not the good kind of crack addict like Viper the rapper. They're the bad kind of crack addict.
Okay, so this is the first time I ever listened to Run the Jewels. Maybe unlike you guys, I didn't have like a preconceived notion of what to expect. So my first listen, I liked it. The best probably the instrumentals, how it was not so maybe mainstream. It was they tried to like spice it up with different sounds and styles, but I thought it was good. I enjoyed it.
First time I listened to it, I had been like in my head like, okay, I gotta really like come in with an open mind because for whatever reason over the past like few years I just hadn't been able to get into their first 3. I found this one easier for me to get into. I thought that there were some good features on there, but the production off first listen was really good.
Before I listened to this album, I did re-listen to RTJ 3, which is my favorite one. When I came in, I was expecting some of that, but I think this is kind of not a big change, but a big enough change to notice a difference. And first listen, I wasn't really fond of the production choices, and I was a little caught off guard. That heavily changed after re-listening to it after like 5 times, maybe. I would say now, like...
I think they did change it a decent amount. But this, I feel like, was probably one of the biggest jumps from 3 to 4.
Contextually, this album came out, I think they released it a couple days early because of the riots, and the subject matter is there. And I loved it. I love the subject matter of this album. What do you guys think?
I thought it was, pretty much what you said, Carlos. I liked how related it was to current events. They didn't mince their words when they were talking about what's happening. They just said it and they were direct about it and they got their point across. There was one song, I don't remember which one it was, where they like call out like mainstream rappers for not being like serious enough in their lyrics and stuff, while they're doing exactly that, being more serious. I like that a lot.
It was very, very timely. They were supposed to be going on tour with Rage Against the Machine. It definitely was dropped in the perfect time slot for it to be released.
I think the subject matter is definitely something they've tackled before, maybe less directly. In this album, I think for me it was a little bit too direct. I didn't think they had enough metaphors or enough storytelling. They didn't really switch up the narrative of how they approached it. And there was definitely some like visceral emotion and scenes that they set in songs like Walking in the Snow. I don't feel like it totally works in how they construct a song going back and forth, but I don't think they really delved into like a deep understanding or breaking apart of any of the problems that they discussed. It felt not low hanging fruit, but like it felt undercooked in a lot of ways to me.
How did you guys like the flow of the album? Just straight off from the beginning, from the hard hitting back at it like a crack addict to the ending.
I thought the flow of the album from song to song was good. I didn't really get caught up at any one spot. Yeah, it was just pretty smooth flowing.
It's from track to track. I don't think it's anything to commend. I don't think they did anything that's worth any second thought. I thought it was just like a rap album.
I liked some of the transitions. They some of the songs like flowed into each other pretty nicely. I found that there's maybe Out of Sight into Holy Kalama. No, Holy Kalama fucking into Goonies, I think it was. It wasn't like a slower song. It was like the same feel, more or less, as the song before, the song after. There wasn't a huge amount of variety.
The biggest gripes, not that I have many gripes with this album, but they don't really do like a slow song or like something. I guess their slower song is maybe Pulling the Pin. Those are my least favorite songs. I like the songs that are very politically charged and like great hook. hook. What did you guys think about the starter?
I don't think they're ever known to do skits or anything like that. They don't bring a lot of personality outside of the songs, which is fine. That's just what they do. I thought they opened it. They had this sort of character thing, which is like kind of an eye roller, yanking the brave, whatever. The beat, I thought that was a really interesting beat to bring it in, and I think they had some of their best flows on this song.
I personally liked it a lot. Just the idea that they're like quasi-fictionalized. And I especially liked how they ended the album with that same guy. Like it was as though you're watching like a TV episode or something, or like a radio show.
The beat definitely went hard. I'll give it that. And I thought it was a really cool way to like just put you into that energy that they kept throughout the album. I agree with Victor. It was definitely some of their best flows. And I also liked like 5 seconds where you're just like, 4. Like, I don't know.
I wish it was more fully fleshed out, the Yankee and the Brave stuff. It kind of just seemed to be at the caps, but I still enjoyed it. Man, what a opener to the album. This might be my favorite track, the whole album. I love the banging, the back at it like a crack addict. I don't want to say transitions, but it goes well into Ooh La La, which is another highlight in my opinion.
I love that song. Don't get me wrong, but that hook, I just like the more I heard it, the more
I hate that hook.
It. I love the instrumental, and I thought their verses were great. But that hook was just the first time I heard it, I was like, "Oh, this is kind of fun."
I liked
and then
it.
just beating me down after I listened to it more.
For me, it felt like this album was a lot more Public Enemy inspired. It had that Public Enemy sound, like the loop and Ooh La La Ah Wee Wee felt like something Public Enemy might get on if.
And the next song, a 2 Chainz feature, which I quite enjoyed. I think he had some bars on here. He had the line about, "I'm as cold as AC, all you bitches wanna bees."
I liked it.
Sorry.
His verse always kind of like stood out to me because it was suddenly like a different voice.
Yeah, I thought it was a classic 2 Chainz verse, like fun and kind of groovy. So,
Or this is one of my larger negatives about the album. In the beginning, I said it kind of felt old. It kind of felt like they're falling. They've never been ahead of the curve, but now it feels like they're falling further and further behind the curve. This song, I think, had some of the classic hip hop mind when it came to the beat making, but in the end, the sampling felt boring. It felt old. I didn't like the hook at all. I thought it was boring hook. And I think the features is a big problem with this album because in the past, I think their features have never been like stand out like they made the song. Here, it feels like the features, they're sort of the old guard, they're still Run the Jewels. They're still bringing the old sound to new hip hop. None of them felt like they were bringing anything worthwhile, but the features is something where they really could bring in the new age, the new sounds. I thought it was a decent feature, but it's not saving the song for me, and it's not saving the problems with a lot of the features and a lot of the lack of originality from track to track.
I disagree and agree at the same time because looking back at their older albums, I agree in the fact that their features enhanced it and it didn't really take away or pull apart from the Run the Jewels duo. They did switch it up enough on this album with the features, especially with the Pharrell and Zach De La Rocha, even though they had him on before. I think it was Pharrell B, but it sounds like his type of production. And his opening lines were great. I really like this track.
So the Just song, I guess that's another song that's like completely feature centric. For me, the beat, I like Pharrell and I like the NERD sound, but to me, it felt like an uninspired beat from Pharrell. Old, sounds like something that could have been on one of those classic projects. I don't always like his vocals, and here his vocals weren't amazing. It was kind of hectic. It had all these voices. That's another big problem I had with this album. It's like in every duo, hip hop duo, they have songs where some person takes a back seat, some person like gets pulled forward for a song. Someone maybe will play like the ad libs, like freaking Flava Flav, like bring in some like crazy ad libs. It's just like they're Killer Mike and LP, like, oh, I gotta get in the studio, I gotta have like 16 bars on every track. It's like, shut up, like I just want to hear like someone get the stage or something, or like I don't know, like the mix up the dynamic. The dynamic for me felt tired, man. I was getting tired of it by the end of it.
So we talking about the song still?
Yeah, talk about the song, just the song.
Okay.
Yeah,
So my thoughts for the entire album and their whole discography. Biggest attraction for me for that song was Zach De La Rocha's feature. It's like, whoa, someone from Rage is performing on a hip hop track, which is really cool for me to see.
I thought Pharrell's hook was definitely really, really good. I loved the Zach De La Rocha feature at the end. Like it literally made me want to listen to a Zach De La Rocha hip hop album. And I didn't mind the fact that there was like a bunch of different people going into this one song. There was a bunch of different voices, but I didn't mind that. One of my favorite things when they have this rap tandem is when when they trade back and forth in a singular verse, and it wasn't just like verse, hook, change rapper, another verse.
I don't think they've really had a problem with their chemistry, but it's definitely there. They haven't lost it one bit.
The going back and forth, I just didn't want to hear that anymore. I wanted to hear one of them stick out or do some different kind of delivery or maybe even a song performance or something more experiment. I don't know. Like I wanted to hear something else.
Going after Just, we go into, I guess, the three that weren't my favorite. Never Look Back, The Ground Below, and The Pulling the Pin. I wasn't really a fan of these songs. What do you think?
I didn't like Never Look Back. I didn't like the hook on that, and I liked Pull the Pin for whatever reason. I don't know. I thought that was like there was good imagery in that track, which I enjoyed.
I liked the beat on The Ground Below. It kind of reminded me of like Berserk by Eminem.
The Ground Below, I think, had some good storytelling. It's probably some of the best storytelling in how they're going for political Yankee and the Brave type beat. But I did not like this was probably one of my least favorite beats. I just don't like when the guitar is like when it's basically just like a punk rock riff or like like a metal riff for the most part unedited. I don't think it really works that well with their sound or with any hip hop sound. I've never really liked that. And then Pulling the Pin, they do this where they bring in like a soul singer or whatever, or like a more deeply emotional, maybe older singer. To me, it felt corny. It felt not preachy, but I didn't really like the delivery and I didn't like the imagery of pulling the pin. It felt phony to me.
It comes back maybe not as much as I wanted to with a few words for the Firing Squad, Radiation. Well, I do think it's an okay track. I think I wanted more out of, maybe I wanted a chorus, or like after the build up, I wanted them production to open up and then they just like kind of go at it.
This was the best example of what they're going for with this storytelling. They do this on other albums, but this, I felt like they were trying to go for it more. This one felt very more personal with politics mixed in. I did like LP's delivery. I felt for the most part this was like more of a feature track telling their own story, and I think they both had interesting turns and twists to their story.
So I guess for more casual viewers, this is a question for Evan and Scott. Is this something that want more of in hip hop, or do you think it's different enough, or would you go back to the earlier albums?
The reason like I don't listen to a lot of rap is because there's instrumental and the subject matter of the songs is kind of lacking. And the gold standard for me is Kendrick.
Gold with distinction.
His instrumentals are great. I mean, his storytelling is amazing and all that. And these guys, I think, are kind of in the middle. So I don't know if I really want to hear more of them, because I just felt like there wasn't enough changing up in the instrumentation or the flow of the song or delivery and tempo and all that.
This is a very good question, Carlos. I know that they're legends, right? Very well respected in the industry. And I've had like such a hard time getting into their music. Listening to this album, I will go back and give it another try. What they did in this album, it was like consistent throughout, and the delivery was consistent with the exception of the hook on Ooh La La. I just can't. I think I'll give it another try, just because I think I need to listen to their stuff to have a better understanding of the industry as a whole. With that being said, what you guys said number 3 would be the one you'd recommend to listen to?
That's a great transition, Scott. Now my question for Victor: where does this rank amongst the other albums?
Well,
and what would you like to see in the next installment?
I don't know if we're gonna do after this favorite tracks, because I didn't completely hate this out. Like there was parts I liked. We didn't really get to the parts I liked. I'd say this is the worst one for me. Even though Run the Jewels 1 is probably the least organized, I actually do like Run the Jewels 1 a lot. I don't totally get a lot of the hype behind Run the Jewels 2, but I think this is, I don't want to say easily because I don't want to throw this under the bus, but it's the worst one for me. Not that close.
I think this sits in probably like a third for me. It'll probably go RTJ 3, 2, and then it's like kind of a tie between 4 and 1. If it's possible you don't have an answer, but what would you like to see in the next installment?
What I'd like to see is, I think, a shorter project, because I don't think they have what it takes to bring out a long, full LP worth of hip hop, because hip hop, the medium they're going with, is not to dog on hip hop, but it's not, especially their style, it's not completely easy to make long lasting. Bring in newer artists, bring in artists from other genres, get away from the tropes of their earlier songs, get away from the political stuff, unless they can bring in some violence. They didn't didn't have enough violence in this album. They didn't have enough pointed storytelling. I wanted to hear something that shook me in my seat. This is not the where the birth of hip hop is, why it got so. This is not NWA conversation. I want to hear some of that if they're gonna go that route.
I'm gonna go with Victor's later point on the more end of the like political commentary. Like if they did it deeper and more frequently throughout the album, I think it would be better. I'd like to see more of that. For me personally, I like more live instrument or like jazz sampling hip hop that I listen to. I guess maybe switch up the flows a little more.
More live instrumentation, and maybe have some songs with just mainly one of them, telling like the story. Brad telling like at me.
Yeah, they're on some hip hop. And you don't on some Sugar Hill Gang type shit on this album.
Let's do you might as well do both fave and least favorite tracks. Go ahead, Victor.
I know I've been dogging on this album, been dogging on hip hop, but I do love hip hop, and I do love when Run the Jewels pull it off, and they definitely pulled it off with Walking in the Snow. Probably my favorite Run the Jewels song now. The beat's not what matters, okay? The beat's not that great, but Gangsta Boo on this hook, she brought the 666 energy, and it is an amazing hook. And I think Killer Mike has his best verse I've heard, probably one of his top verses that I've heard from him. Gripping story, said some great things about our fearless leader. Yeah, and also Goonies versus E.T. I thought was a great beat. I love that beat, and I love the hook. That was the second best hook on the album. Least favorite, I guess Never Look Back. That song was super uninspired.
Fuck you, Scott. 3 favorites, probably Walking in the Snow. I love that hook a lot, just like Vic said. Great track. I like Yankee and the Brave, the opener, a lot. And probably Holy Cow, Fuck. I love the second half so much. Least favorite song, probably Never Look Back.
I'm gonna go with Walking in the Snow, Holy Cow, Fuck, because I love the beat switch. And then Just, because the Zach De La Rocha feature. Least favorite is Never Look Back and The Ground Blow, for sure.
Blow me. That song freaking blew me.
The Ground Below Me. Oh my god.
That song was trash.
Favorites, give me Yankee and the Brave, Goonies vs. E.T. I love when that song first comes in. And
that's a good
Walking in
one.
the Snow.
What song is it when Killer Mike is like, I pull out my penis on the street and like piss on their shoes? Like,
Final thoughts?
Does anyone else want to go first?
I have to go last.
Has to go last.
Don't choke.
overall, my thoughts, I liked it when I'm super, not really focusing on it and just kind of listening to while I'm doing other stuff. I'm going to give it 6.3.
I did overall like this record. I'll definitely go back to a couple of the songs. Just I've already listened to just on its own. Hit a stall as far as the energy goes. I can't really listen through all. I'm going to give it a 6.8.
I feel bad. I feel like I've been shitting on it a little too hard. It's not bad music at all. Like, I don't want to push anyone away. Like, it's not bad music. It's not cutting
We're just
edge.
such a high level of critique on this channel. We're just so like intellectual that
It's nothing new for Run the Jewels. I don't think they pull off the political conversations. The beats were, in the most part, pretty dull for Run the Jewels. I think they've done a lot better. 6.5.
Okay. So
what is going on?
Why are you guys
Well,
laughing?
like, what number should
contextually, a good set of political commentary. Their hooks aren't the greatest on this, and the album does take a bit of a dive within, like, at track 8, I would say. So I'm going to give it a 7.5.
He one-upped me.
All right.
Okay.
So their first project, RTJ1, was supposed to be a one-off record that they were going to do together. It was just supposed to be a one-time thing, but they got so much praise for it that they continued to keep going.
God, I feel like
Maybe-
you're sleeping
maybe
on
that's-
RTJ1, bro. I fuck with RTJ1.
Let us know your thoughts. Give us suggestions for our videos too, or maybe albums that you guys want us to review. Vic, you got to switch.
No, this is the way it is. No,
What?
Carlos, you're the wrong way.
Don't touch him.
Hey, Charles, it's your mirror. You're seeing yourself in the mirror, not like.
Don't touch him.
Alright.
Yeah, don't touch him. Don't touch him. What's up? What's up?